Hey, welcome in everybody to the Ben Maynard program. Before we get started, I've got some news to share. On the show now is streaming on several podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Podcast Index, Podcast Addict. Let's see, FM Player, Podchaser, Pocket Casts, and Spotify. So the show is out there. We are out there on a lot of fronts, and there's a lot of options for people to listen in on this show. And of course, the program is still and always available on YouTube. So lots of ways to listen and to watch. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do me a favor. Remember to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up. And lastly, follow me on Instagram at Ben Maynard Program, all one word. So let me recap the last program. That was the Kiss Live albums ranked, and I'm still expecting some folks to really beat up on me. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with my list, but then again, that's the beauty in it. It's my list, and you, by all means, leave a comment, leave me your list so that I see where these live albums fall in line for you. So check out that last show if you haven't. That one's episode 4. Today we have a really special program for you. I've been waiting and trying to get a guest on, and no better person in my world to bring on as the first guest to the Ben Maynard program. So I'm gonna do this right here and click, and I'm gonna add my very dear friend Bryon Jaffee to the program. How's it going, Bryon?
Hey, I'm a lot better than most, but not as good as some.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
it seems like we just talked minutes ago.
Hey, how about that? Yeah, we're gonna let everybody behind the curtain here and see the wizard at work. Yeah, of course. The my audience knows that I'm a real novice at this, and this is a total DIY project, and it's from the ground up, and that my very first episode, there was nothing in the background behind me, and it was me all scruffy looking and all that, and I wanted it that way. Yeah, because I wanted everybody to experience the same thing I'm experiencing from the bottom up, from the novice to the professional broadcaster, which I'm still far from. So, you know.
Hey, I'm supposed to tell and talk about things, but you already know everything there is to be.
Well, yeah, I know most everything, but of course, the listeners don't,
Right.
and that's what we're going to go. And folks, I want to share this with you. This guy here has just, he's been a dear friend of mine. Let's start out with that. He's been a dear friend of mine for almost 30 years and somewhat of a mentor to me as well. And not only that, he is by far, and hands down, he is by far the best pitching coach there is. So that's not even disputable. And I don't even joke about that. I know you laugh, Brian, but I don't even joke about that.
You're making my small head get bigger.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, we've known each other for almost 30 years, right? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
We go back a long ways, and
We've gone through so much together.
we have, and it's pretty much all good, but I know I have one question I want to start with before I tee it off to you. Okay, is it Broadway Bryon or is it GQ Bryon? You tell me which one it is.
Okay. Stories on both.
Yeah.
When I, at one point, you're going to get the stories now.
All right.
At one point, During the disco era, I danced competitively. That was couples. I did the drop dance. Um, all the stuff you saw in dancing, Dancing on the Stars. I did a lot of that stuff. And at that time, I was called Broadway Bryon. I even I even wore a T-shirt that lit up in lights that said Broadway Bryon. You know. Um, Now the GQ Bryan uh, comes from a lady friend that you met previously, and I think we talked about her previously, who originally was a Budweiser girl and now she owns a spokesmodel agency. She
Right.
said, for your license plate, you should have GQ Bryan, because at that time I was considered pretty stylish. I had an extensive wardrobe, and I always used to get compliments and stuff like that. So, especially from her. So she,
Getting a phone call?
yeah, the phone call is going to be. It really is a story with that too. But
Okay.
anyhow, to make a long story short, she said you should put GQ Bryan. That's when I had the Porsche,
Right.
and I said the only way I'll get it is if you buy it for me, because I'm not doing it. Okay. And she wound up doing that. And today and this is like, how many years ago? That'd be like 25 years, 29 years I've known her. So we're still very, very close friends. So that's the
Right.
story on those two.
Well, I want to expound on the GQ there, uh, just to let everybody in on it. Bryan and I, we met, oh gosh, I want to say it was around 1996, because our boys played Little League Baseball together. And um, and at one
It was
point
at a
I
ball
was,
game.
well, yeah, absolutely. But gosh, I don't even want to. Okay, I'll tell that story. So I was a baseball manager, coach. I was on the board of directors for Chino Hills Little League, and for the non-competitive divisions, coaches or managers had to volunteer to umpire games for those non-competitive divisions, and so I was out umpiring a game one time, and it's now the end of the game, and of course Bryan's younger son, Dion, he was on the one of the teams playing, and I don't know how this happens, but a melee breaks out at home plate, and I'm caught in the middle of it, and we finally get it all broken up. And what was it that you either told Gianni or Dion to?
Dion.
Okay,
I
what did you
told
tell him to
Dion,
tell me?
yeah, I believe I told him to say that you were an umpire. You were umping that game, weren't you,
Right.
at the time?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I says, you tell him when you get up to the plate that he's a real good to butter him up. But it was true because from my all my years of experience in baseball, you did the job right. So
Well,
I said, go ahead. It isn't going to hurt to butter him up a little bit.
no,
So
certainly not.
no, so that's what I did. And then I think the next time, correct me if I'm wrong, you were coaching the team. And I
Uh,
think I walked over to the dugout to
well,
say
it was.
something.
I remember we had a winter ball team, and both Gianni and Dion were playing on that winter ball team, and you were always hanging out around the dugout at that time, and always talking with me, and we were going back and forth,
But Dion
converse.
wasn't playing for you because
No,
the
he wasn't.
stipulation was is you wanted me to coach
No, no,
with
no.
you.
Yeah, but we're talking about winter ball right now, not spring. We're
Okay,
talking
go
about
ahead.
winter ball.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So just to bring in the listeners and come back around to GQ Bryan. Bryan would show up at these games wearing almost exclusively double breast jackets in just about any color and every color you can imagine, from red to navy blue to black. And I still remember the blue one. The blue one was great. Probably the navy blue one was probably the best because
And the
on the
sunglasses to match the
and,
color.
and it had like the captain stripes on the shoulders, and it
Yeah.
had the brass buttons, and I mean Bryon had it going on. And so we before we even saw his license plate on his car, we were calling him GQ Bryon. And he would show up to the games, and these were generally Saturday evening games, and so once the game was over, the kids, Gianni and Dion, his boys, they would come stay at my house because, like I said, the kids, they all grew up playing ball together, and so they could stay at my house. And Bryon would go out living his single life, and he'd go out to the clubs and conduct business and do all kinds of other stuff. So for us, that was where GQ Bryon came from. So, but I don't know what is it these days.
These days,
Yeah, these days. Are we
I
Broadway Bryan?
know
Are we GQ
these
Bryan? What
days,
are we?
I never hear that or GQ Bryan, but within a certain circle, I am. They relate to me as a relationship specialist.
There you go. We'll get into that
So,
shortly.
yeah, yeah.
What I want you to do, if you could, because through our years, and the thing that you and I have in common the most is our love for baseball. You coached with me. We coached together. Bryon and I coached together for a few years, and that's why I can tell you that he is the most knowledgeable and the best pitching coach that I know of. And I mean, I know a lot of coaches, and Bryon is right up there at the top when it comes to pitching. He's a great pitching instructor, and I know I'm kissing up to him right now, but
I appreciate that, but I don't believe that. But that's okay.
well, that's okay. That's all right. That's you being humble, and I have to talk you up. So, so what I'd like you to do, because I know some of this, but I'm sure you're going to fill me in on a few things that I don't know. You served for our country way back when in the Army, and you played baseball for the Army, right?
Played for the All Army baseball team. That
Why
kept
don't you
me
share?
from going to
Why don't you?
Vietnam.
Yeah, okay. Why don't you share with us a little bit about that, and tell us about some of the players that you played with and played against.
Okay, let's start how I got onto the baseball team. I was sent to the largest medical base in, well, they said in the world, and that was Fort Sam Houston, Texas. It was Fourth Army headquarters. Um, and I was in my what you call basic training of medical training to be a corpsman. And we were in formation and we were passing this beautiful. When I say it, it was like as good as any minor league ballpark. And I heard people there, and I snuck out of the formation, which you don't do. But I did a lot of things you're not supposed to do. And I went in there, and I'm in full gear, combat boots on. And the baseball coach says, "What do you want?" I says, "Well, I played baseball." He says, "Would you like to try out for the team?" I says, "Yeah, sure." Now, I hadn't thrown a baseball probably in about 8 months, 6 months, because I come out of basic training, and then they sent me for what they call, excuse me, advanced individual training that are medical based. So I got on the mound with combat boots on, and I hadn't thrown a baseball now in, I don't know, 9, 10 months, but I was still pretty strong, and I was a big boy. I was a big boy, at that time, and my velocity alone at that time, he said, "What company you in?" and everything. And I gave him the company, and I started playing, and not knowing that this was the All Army baseball team.
Yeah.
All the guys on the team had professional, a professional background or played college ball, and they stood out. within their areas of ball playing. And for some reason, the commanding general, there was two generals on the base. One was the base general, and the other was the commanding general of the whole Fourth Army.
Okay.
And he took a liking to me. So he wanted me to pitch generally when he came to the games. Now, we played all the colleges that toured Texas. We played the best that Texas had to offer. We played, I think it was Texas A&M the year they won, or one of the Texas teams, the year they won the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And then we played in two semi-professional leagues.
Okay.
Who later on, when the Army did away with all their baseball, they requested use of me, and I played for one of them and got paid, illegally, but I got paid. But
right.
which was very, very interesting. Another story along those lines is I was supposed to play a baseball game, but they put me on KP in my company, and they wanted to know why I didn't make the game. And boy, were they ticked off. The commanding general got all the COs of all the companies together and said, whenever there's a game, he comes and pitches or plays. He says he does nothing. So after that, I had a master sergeant used to wake me up in the morning with a baseball bat. He would hit my bunk with a baseball bat. He'd say, "Get up out of bed, you jockey strapper." And then when I graduated the corpsman training, he came over to me. We both laughed and hugged and everything. And they kept me on base, sent me to surgical tech school. I had already went to corpsman school. I went through all but 2 weeks of lab tech training when they asked me to fail out on purpose so I could go into special services. But that was nixed by the colonel who ran that medical center, because she realized, aren't you the Jaffee that plays baseball?
Yeah.
He realized that. So she says, I'm going to let you out of here, but I'm going to put in writing that you can never be in special services. And that's what happened. So when I wasn't playing baseball, I worked in surgery as a surgical tech.
Okay.
Which later in life led to a bunch of things, me becoming an acupressure therapist and always being interested in medicine. The ball players I played with there, I don't think there was anybody of notoriety. Some of them made professional football, but that was on teams that we played against.
Okay.
Later in life, I pitched against some ball players. Well, actually, previous to that, I pitched against the Rod Carew, the year he signed. I pitched against a few ball players. In Texas, I pitched against Brian Duran after he was retired.
Sorry, who was that? Brian who?
Ryan Duran. He was
Oh, Ryan.
for the Yankees.
Gotcha.
I pitched against, interesting, I pitched against the Mexican All-Star team. They were out of Piedras Negras, Mexico. And I gave up, I believe it was either 3 or 4 hits. I overpowered everybody but one ball player. He got all the hits. And he was an ex-Boston Braves. That's how far it goes back.
Oh, yeah.
Ball player by the name of Barney Sorrell, who I never heard of, but I had looked it up. I didn't go back that far. I knew the Boston Braves. And that was basically my military.
Yeah.
Well, let's go one step further. I told you I was crazy. My whole stay in the Army was like MASH. We did everything. It was crazy. And we would go down to Mexico and go down there illegally without a pass. And Geez, one day we were thrown in jail in Mexico. And would you believe, it took the CID, the air police, to get me out and my friends out. And the only reason they got my friends out is because they were with me. Because of my baseball playing and because my company commander was another pitcher on the baseball team, we got out with good conduct medals.
Oh,
There's no way we should have. So that's just part of some of the stories
yeah,
in the military.
yeah. Well, when Bryon when we used to coach together, Bryon handled all of our pitchers, and Bryon was very, very regimented, very into making sure that their fundamentals were sound, that they got their work in properly. And, for the years that we coached together, and I know you'll agree, so I know I'm not speaking out of turn, but we ran that little league team, like almost like a college program. And what was great about it is other teams in the league, the coaches and managers started coming to you and wanting you to start working with their kids.
That's right. You remember that, huh? And I told them, hey, I offered it in the clinics before the season,
Yes.
but I said now I cannot do it because I would be doing my ball players an injustice.
Yes.
I remember that. I didn't think you would remember that, but
I do. I remember. But going back to those little league days, and running the team the way we did, and it was you who worked our pitching staff like no other. It was Coach Ray, who was instrumental in our defense and our hitting, and it was me managing it all. And the great thing was the relationship that the three of us had at that time, where I used to crack up. You'd say something to me, I'd say something to Ray. Ray would say something back to you, and then the two of you guys would look at me and say, "Hey, you're the manager. You make the decision."
It's the truth, and it was very, I want to say, compartmentalized. I mean, I had nothing to do with anything else. I would take the pitches after you did what you wanted with them, and I would run them right through the basics over and over again.
Yeah, they would get their bullpen work in. You'd be working on their fundamentals, and then
Run them.
afterwards they would have to run their sprints. And what was really cool is that the rest of the team saw the pitchers running their sprints, and they wanted in on some of that too. So it got the rest of the team involved, and it just created a great chemistry and camaraderie with all the players. And the one thing I'll say to the listeners here is that I didn't allow Bryon to throw batting practice to our kids because he threw too hard. He was too competitive.
I don't know.
Yeah.
In those days, I mean, I could.
You
I
were
could
still
throw a ball,
look.
yeah.
Just for those who are watching this, I'll clue everybody in, and I hope you don't mind. But there's a 20-year age difference between the two of us, and at that point, I was about 33, so you were 53, and at that point, you were
Actually more. I'm 70. I'll be 78 in February.
right, right, and so you were still bringing it though. At that point, you were still bringing it, and I had to put a kibosh on that because you were just too competitive with the kids. But,
and I didn't think I was, to be
yeah,
honest with you,
yeah.
at the time. But yes.
But a lot of fun with that though. That's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And to tell you, in fact, for the viewers,
Yeah.
tell them about the video you have up on YouTube on the Pirates.
Oh, jeez. Well, okay.
Well, it brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll share this for the viewers and even the listeners. There is a video, a YouTube video that I posted. I don't remember how long ago, how many years ago, and I think if to this channel, I think it'll still, if you search it, you'll still find it. Um, but in 1998, and we're 25 years ago, one of our dads on the team, he worked in television and movies, and he used to do a lot of documentaries for the History Channel. So he brought out one day to the ball field this nice camera and boom mic, and he took nearly 3 hours of video footage of us, our team, our game, everything that we did, and he talked a little bit to each of us coaches, and he talked to the kids. Just did a bang up job with this thing. And in 1998, if you seek out this video and you watch it, you'll think, okay, big deal. The graphics on it, okay, no big deal. The editing, the music, whatever it is. But we're talking 25 years ago, and this was some pretty stellar stuff, especially for a bunch of little leaguers. This was very, very professional. And it was to celebrate our season that year. We won the championship, and there was a little foresight in our filmmaker's mind. He had an idea and an inclination that it was going to happen. And it was to celebrate the championship that year. And we had a wonderful team. We had a great record, great bunch of kids, and a great bunch of parents. And yeah, it's still, you're right, Brian. You every once in a while I'll go click on it and watch it
I do.
myself. And it brings a tear to my eye.
Yes, definitely.
I
By the way, uh, not to interject, but I am. Do you remember that when you asked me to come uh, to be the pitching coach on the team, and I said the only way I would do it is if you played Dion, who really wasn't of age, but he was a lot better than, I believe, than the kids in the division he was playing in.
I do remember that he because
But you had to go before the board.
yeah, in that year, 1998, Dion was a year too young to play in our division. You're right. We already had, we were going to lock up Gianni already, and you said, but I got to have both boys on the team, just logistically, and then you said, and besides that, even though Dion's younger, he's better than half the guys on the team too, which was true. It was yeah, it wasn't like you were just out, throwing that out there, but it was true. And so I did. I had to go before the board, and I had to explain to them, this is the deal here. And they let it go, and they granted us Dion playing on the team, and the rest was history. That year, it was just like I said, great bunch of kids, great bunch of
Good,
parents,
great,
and
great.
I'll be honest with you too. And you and I talk about this. Unfortunately, Coach Ray, we both of us have kind of lost touch with Coach Ray, and what a wonderful guy and a wonderful coach too, and probably should reach out and see how he's doing too. But uh, in my estimation, and I said it, I think I put it in the description on that their video, the best coaching staff in youth sports, hands down.
Well,
And you
the other teams, I mean, they almost hated us.
almost they did.
I remember, what was it, the Cardinals?
Yeah.
Um, what was the kid's name? He wound up playing for us.
Oh, you're talking about, and we're gonna bring some names out here too. You're talking
Yeah,
about Dustin Foster.
yes, and his father was so so happy when he went to
He
play
ended
for
up
us.
playing for us 2 years later. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Two
he was
seasons later.
he was ecstatic about
Good
that,
kid.
and we
Good
were.
parents. Good parents.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
But
What would you?
and we'll get off the little league thing here in a moment. But I do want to share this because I'm sure we're probably going to have some coaches out there. It doesn't matter what sport it is, but the bottom line in all of this is we had successful teams, we had wonderful kids and wonderful players, a lot of athletic ability on those teams, and our approach to it was quite simple. We were going to make this we were going to grill these guys and we were going to drill them and we were going to teach them how to play winning baseball, but we were going to take it from the fun side of it. They were going to have a lot of fun learning how to play winning baseball. And that was the bottom line, was if you're not going to have fun in it, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, you're going to be miserable. And we did. I that was definitely a concerted effort on our part, was to make it fun for them. And I think that was something that some of the other coaches and managers in our division didn't quite understand. For those years that we were together, they didn't understand it, because we did what we were supposed to do as a ball club. We were very successful as a ball club, and they looked at it as we were doing something wrong. We were browbeating our kids, and never ever ever
You love
we never yelled once at any of our kids other than to make ourselves heard. It was never out of anger.
Coil, Coil. I
Oh yeah,
remember I used to catch it. I
yeah,
I yelled. I would yell out there just to remind the pitcher.
right, right.
Coil.
But clearly instruction, and never out of criticism or anything like that, or anger.
No, no.
And so I mean, I loved that approach. And our parents, I remember at times there were, we even had board members coming after us, and our parents, if you remember correctly, we had one game where the parents never showed up because it was the same night as a board meeting, and our parents went to the board meeting instead and told the board, leave us alone. We're doing well. We love our coaches. Our kids love our coaches. We're having a great season. Leave us
Yes.
alone. And then they came back after the board meeting. They came and showed up by the end of the game. I still remember that. So, you
We
know,
we could have easily gone undefeated, remember? But we brought kids in to
sure.
pitch
Yeah.
just so they could play.
Yeah.
We got every kid into the game, and but undefeated, we could have done that with no problem.
Yeah. So just a message to coaches and managers, and it doesn't matter what sport it is, but it's the bottom line. It's all about fun, but you got to teach the game no matter what it is. You got to teach it the right way. It all comes down to fundamentals, because without fundamentals, you don't have anything. That's your foundation for all of it, and then on top of that, make it fun.
True. I,
Yeah.
I I mean, we all agreed upon that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was the one thing we, as a coaching staff, we didn't waver at all. We all saw it exactly the same, and when we were all on the same page, then everybody else got on the same page with us. So let's move on a little bit. We'll get out of Little League baseball. I know that you have a great interest in, let me put it this way, in, I guess, human nature. How's that? Is that a good way to
But that's part
describe
of
it?
it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
Where my
so go
interest really,
yeah, go into that.
okay, where my interest really lies is in relationships,
Okay.
the psychology, the behavioral science involved, and another thing that I'm extremely passionate about is nonverbal communication and anything related to that, like statement analysis, the words people use, how to read a person by their body language. And if things go the way I think it's going to go, you will be interviewing some people that are world renowned in that subject, who work for intelligence agencies. My friends that I associate with are members or have worked or have been contracted by the three-letter agencies that we all know, FBI,
Mhm.
CIA, MI6,
Okay.
and have taught them, and they're legends in their profession, and they're my mentors. They have been my mentors. But when I involved in relationships, and it doesn't even have to be relationships, single people or whatever. When it comes to relationships, I look for congruency in what they say in their body language. And if it's not there, I go with the body language because the body language is all subconscious. It's controlled, and I'll just give it just a brief uh, definition of why I go with the body language. The body language is controlled by the limbic system of the brain. The limbic system of the brain.
Okay. Hold on a second. It's the what system of the brain?
Limbic limbic system of the brain.
Okay.
The limbic system does not know how to think, but it will react as fast as 1/25th of a second. For instance, well, let's start with this. Limbic system controls anything to do with procreation, survival, and all our emotions like sad, happiness, and so on. And we don't know we're doing it. We just respond immediately. An example, somebody you don't know walks into your personal space, is right on you. You don't think, you react. Either you're going to pull away or, well, either you're going to freeze, fight, or flight. It's going to be one of those three reactions.
Okay.
And there's no thinking whatsoever involved. Same thing when it comes to attraction. People can be madly in love with the woman they're with, or vice versa, the woman with the man they're with. But they'll walk into a room and there'll be 15 people of the opposite sex. Just like that, they'll know who they are attracted to. Doesn't mean they're going to be with them, because that's where your intelligence comes in. I mean, you're in a relationship. You don't move out of your relationship, even
Okay.
though many people do. That's a whole subject by itself. But that is where the limbic system comes in. And that's a couple of examples. A pretty looking woman walks by you, you're going to pick it up automatically from the side. And same, the woman with a pretty looking man walking by the side. We're attuned to that. It's nature's way for reproduction. And then I talk about infatuation, which most people have no idea what infatuation is and what fuels it, and why people become infatuated. Um, and that's about as much as I really want to say on that subject,
Okay.
because uh, if I if we do get my friends on, it'll be an education.
Right.
It'll be a big education.
What I find fascinating is that, when, like I said, you and I, we talk on the phone, and you tell me about the places that you'll venture off to and hang out, and you're always holding court with everybody there.
Oh, listen, I just went through 6 or 7 months of kidney problems. I
Yeah.
had procedures done. I had operations done. Now I'm just beginning, just as of last week.
Yeah.
My procedures are over. The operation is over, and I'm putting my weight back on. I had lost 16 pounds. So, but one story is I went in for a procedure where they're going to put a stent in my, not a stent in the ureter. This was the procedure that preceded that. But regardless, when they asked me what I did, and I told them, well, I have a passion for body language and relationships. You're awake during this procedure, and for an hour, the nurses were switching off, asking me questions in reference to relationship and what they've heard about body language. And I love it because what
Yeah.
is knowledge? if you can't spread
Yeah,
it.
but
So
that's just, but that's you. That's you. You've
yeah,
always,
I love it.
you've always had a way of, like I said, holding court wherever you go. It does, and to be honest, look, this subject is something else. If we were out, at a ball field, you'd be holding court on pitching, whatever it is. So it was always something. People are definitely drawn to you because you have that personality and you have that aura about you, and that's what it's always
Yeah, but
been.
but you have it too. You have it.
Bryon, this isn't about me, okay? This is
I might be a little bit more blatant or outgoing, um, but that's me, and especially with the people that now I associate with. One of them who's happens to be a legend. His name is James Pyle, a legend when it comes to interrogation. He's taught the Department of Defense. He's always said to me, no matter where you're at, talk to people because everybody has something to offer. You may not like it, but you will learn. So make the approach, and there are certain ways of doing this. And when a person, and then another person who was the head of a section of the FBI told me that you want to make people feel safe with you. Once you make people feel safe with you, it builds the trust and respect, and they become friends. They open up.
Well, I'll tell you this as far as feeling safe, I do a pretty good job of being able to protect myself and protect others, but I know that when I'm around Bryon Jaffee, I'm around one of the baddest ass guys that there is. So, that's for sure.
Well, you know my history. I
I
mean,
know your history, but to what you
this
said,
is as far as I'll go with this. Okay,
okay, all right,
the movie Casino,
yeah,
which everybody's seen. I worked for those people, the real people.
yes,
And that's about all I really want
yeah,
to get
yeah,
into.
that's okay.
Let's say names.
Yeah, yeah. We'll
I
leave
can't
it there.
repeat names to protect me.
That's yeah, absolutely. But you know what is losing my hold on, losing my microphone stand here. So uh where was I know. So to what you said though, that's kind of the purpose of this show is like you said, talk to people because everybody has something to say. And that's the purpose of this program is for people to tell their story. Yeah, folks, I know you see it here on YouTube, and I'm trying to my microphone stand fell off the
Don't
desk.
worry about it.
Trying to get it back on. Well,
I
we're just
see it
gonna let it
happen
go.
with my
We're gonna
friends
let it
who
go
have
like
YouTube
this.
channels.
And you know what? Look, and everybody knows, Bryon. The audience knows that we don't edit anything out of this show, so this thing goes out warts and all. But yeah, so that's the purpose, and that's why I wanted to have you on because you have a good story, and we touched on it very little, but another thing that I've always enjoyed about our relationship and especially our love for baseball is you and I when we watch a baseball game, we don't watch it as fans. Now you grew up the biggest Yankees fan, and I grew up the biggest Dodgers fan, and we're supposed to hate one another, but we don't. We never have, and we've never had one crossword.
We want a good played game. And
Yes,
from a mechanical standpoint, uh, and, and well, my interest in baseball now is I'm a Dodger fan only because Joe Kelly, who pitches for the Dodgers, who's pitched 3 other teams previously,
yeah,
and this is his second time around, is a personal friend of mine, and his
right.
father is very close. So I follow him. I didn't care too much about the World Series. It didn't matter to me.
No,
I just wanted Joe to do good.
but the thing is that we watched the game the way we coached it where it was always about the fundamentals, and we watched it from that aspect. We watched it as coaches. I remember you and I going to a Dodger Yankee game at Dodger Stadium. We sat right next to each other, and all we did was like, why is this guy? This guy should be doing this. This guy should be doing that. And critiquing everything, critiquing their, some of the poor fundamentals, and I don't know. That's just, we just haven't seen the game the same way as we used to when we were much younger.
It's changed. It's changed. I have to say, some of the things I like, a lot of the things I don't like. I'm still very much old school when it comes to definitely some of the mechanics with pitching,
Sure.
even the hitting. But that's me.
No,
Hell, I
we don't agree. We don't disagree on any of this stuff. That's the thing, and we sound like old dinosaurs when we talk about this, because things have changed, but it doesn't necessarily make the game better. I don't know. There's nothing like the way the game was played 30, 40 years ago, and even going further back than that. Sorry, I just waved right in front of the camera there, but is there somewhere that people can seek you out,
yeah,
follow
yeah,
you, anything like that?
yeah. I'm on both Facebook under the name of Bryon Jaffee and on Instagram. And there I'm more concerned with what I do, relationships. I put up what I call no fluff postings. In other words, I say it like it is. I'm not the person that's going to give you the positivity when there's so much negativity in the relationship. I'm the one who will tell you that by the time people see a counselor or a specialist in relationships, the relationship has usually been over at least 3 months, could be over 2 years prior. So I get into all the red flags to look for. Sometimes I talk about how we can circumvent those and so on. So you can find me on Facebook under the name that you see posted, and make sure you spell Bryon like Brian, not Byron,
Yeah,
because
and
most
just for
people
those,
look at it and change it.
right, and just for those who are listening and not watching this on YouTube, it's Bryon, Bryon Jaffee, Jaffee. And that's on Facebook. And then where do they find you on Instagram?
Same thing,
Same thing,
same name,
just Bryon Jaffee, just all one word.
Brian. Yeah, Bryon Jaffee. Period.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, hold on. Let me just see. I have two sites here,
See,
and now you got me wondering here.
this is how it works here, people. Now Brian's got to check it out to make sure it's right.
I just want to make sure I'm right.
Sure, that's okay. That's all right. I don't want to tell people where to
Yeah,
follow you.
Bryon Jaffee's the one that you really want to go under.
Okay. All right.
That's the one. The other one is people don't go on that much, but people who do, they're on every day. So,
Okay.
and
Well, good.
yeah, and if you got questions in reference or you disagree with me, which I love because I'm always open to learning. Learning to me is, I don't even know if I should say this, it's like having a mental orgasm, but I love it. And it doesn't have to be about relationships,
Yeah.
it's anything. I'm just so open to learning. We should do this is just a suggestion, even though it's your show. We should do a follow up if the response is good and do a part two because there's so much we haven't
Oh yeah, it's fine. I
covered.
welcome that. I'm probably not. Listen, Brian's producing the show already, taking over as producer.
No, and that we're not even talking about the show business aspect, my
Right.
radio life, and
Yeah.
and the people that I have associated with in that industry, and the people I bodyguarded.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I wasn't
See,
frail
there's
like I am
there's
now.
more. Yeah, there's more to it than you've let
Yeah,
out today, and that's okay. Good, because
yeah.
this has been really really good today. Listen, I'm gonna try to figure this out. Remember, I'm still a novice at this, but I want to thank you very much. I'm gonna try to release you from the studio, remove you from the studio, so that I can
It's
close out
okay.
the show. We'll
Well, I
see
can
how.
release myself, I think, also.
I
So,
got it right here. I just want to make sure that when it
okay.
cuts you out, it doesn't cut me out. So.
To me, this is no different than us.
Well,
Okay.
right, and
I
that's
mean,
the
this is
beauty of
us. I mean,
that's that's the
this,
beauty of all this. Is this right?
yeah,
This is you and I. This is
yeah.
how we talk to one another, and that's why I thought it would be really good to have you on the program. And I so appreciate it, my friend. You're such
No,
a
I
dear.
appreciate our friendship
Yeah,
more than anything. This
you're
is
such a dear
secondary.
friend.
This is so natural. It's so
Yeah,
easy. I mean, this is people seeing us, not seeing us as we always are.
right. This is
You
kind
know?
of letting people in and see
Yeah.
how you and I are with one another.
Yes. Perfectly put.
So, all right. So, listen, I thank you so much for being on the program. Uh,
Thank you.
be well, and you'll be able to find this once I post it, and you'll be able to go back and watch it and say how I look dumb, you look good, and all that good stuff.
I can't even look at myself in the screen here. I mean, it's horrible. You look great. But
Oh,
me,
geez,
oh
I can't
boy.
get the glare off my glasses, and that's a mess. But
And I'm
anyway,
trying to come, and I'm trying to come back from my operation.
yeah.
So,
Well, you're looking good, folks. I'll say this before we actually finish up. Before I kick Bryon out of the studio. The other day we were talking about him coming on, and he's lying on his bed without a shirt on, and then of course he has to get up and show me his abs and everything. This guy has
oh
better
no,
abs.
I didn't get up to show my. I
This
got up
guy,
to get something, and you made the comment.
but this guy has better abs than I do. Okay, this guy's in great shape. So anyway, Bryon, I thank you so much for being on.
Go, I love you, Ben.
I love you too. Take care. All right,
Go
see
ahead.
you.
Bye.
Bye. All right, people. That was Bryon Jaffee. Yeah, he's just a great guy. He really is. Um, so listen, that's gonna wrap it for today. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Again, we are now on multiple podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Podcast Index, Podcast Addict, Player FM, Podchaser, Pocket Casts, and Spotify. So there's a lot of ways to listen to this program. Check it out. We're just having fun here. Some good stuff. Anyways, and then lastly, follow me on Instagram, Ben Maynard Program. With that, folks, I thank you for being here. And that's going to be a wrap. This is the Ben Maynard Program. Tell a friend.